welcome back to my channel and my bookshelves. I'm Bianca and this is Being Things. So it is quite late during the week and I am going to go to bed soon, but I had an idea for how to make this whole Project TBR Zero thing a little bit easier. So the idea is to count all of the series and authors that I own multiple books from. I'm going to count how many out of each I've read and then like name all of them, and I'm gonna make a really big list. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. You can join me while I go through this. I'm probably gonna speed this up. Okay, so that was an effort, but I managed to tally all the books. I also have counted books that are in South Africa and then the ones that are in my bedroom that aren't on the shelves, and very puffed out. But now I'm gonna go make my spreadsheet. This is my final spreadsheet that I created to help me with my tracking. First up, we have the name of the series or author or whatever I decided was easiest for me to be able to identify it by. Then we have whether it is a series or an author, just so that I can sort it by that if I ever want to. Then we have the amount of books that I've read, that I own, and then the total books that I own, and then the books that I have left to read. Then I've also calculated the percentage read. So I love how this turned out. I also sorted it according to percent read, and then in that by how many books I have left to read. So as you can see, I have read almost all of the books in the Shadowhunter series. I just have one left, and pretty much this entire category here, I just have one more book left to read in this author universe or series or whatever it is. So these are the books that I should be prioritizing. So for Shadowhunters, the book I have left to read is Chain of Thorns, which is the third book in whatever the latest trilogy is called. Honestly, can't remember. But yes, then I still need to read the second Magpie Society book by Zoe. So I believe that one's called Two for Joy. So she co-wrote that with someone else, but I do have all of her Girl Online books as well, and not really books by the other author. And then Zoe was also why I bought it, so that's why I chose to have her there. Then for Ali Hazelwood, I have to read her latest book, Bride, but I do think she has a couple of more books coming out soon, so hopefully I can read that in time before I have to change this. Then the final Taylor Jenkins Reid book I need to read is Carrie Soto is Back. I've read literally all her other books, even the ones I don't own, so that's quite cool. And then I loved the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy by Kevin Kwan, so I bought his other book. I don't even know if that's part of a series or not, but I think it's called Sex and Vanity. I've owned that book for years and I just haven't read it yet. So yeah, this is probably what I will focus on. These two books are kind of summary, so I don't know if I really want to read them right now. I'll see how I feel, but they do give kind of summery vibes, but maybe I'll want to read them when it actually starts getting cold here. It's not cold yet, and it should be. Then we have the Inheritance Games. So this is also just one book left to read. So I have to read The Final Gambit. Haven't read that yet. Then for Madeline Miller, I haven't read Cersei yet. I read her other two books this year, so that's really nice. Then Holly Ringland's second book, or her second novel, I should say, The Seven Skins of Esther Wilding. I do want to read that, but I've also recommended that one to read for my book club, so I might pause on that and just see. And then Celeste Ng's latest book, I can't even remember what it's called, but I'll try and insert a picture. Haven't read that one yet, but I really enjoyed her other two books. Then for Holly Jackson, there's two books I haven't read yet. So that is Five Survive, and then her latest one, The Disappearance of Somebody. I think it's something Chase. Can't remember, but yeah, those two books haven't read yet. Then I have three books from Neil Gaiman that I haven't read yet, which I actually can't remember. Kiara Cass, I really love the Selection series, so that's the 5 I've read, and then I own 4 of her other books, which I haven't read yet. Matt Haig, I read The Midnight Library, and I own... I can't remember even what that one is called now. Something About Time, I think. Then I really loved On Writing by Stephen King, so I really want to read his first book, Carrie, because I bought that after I read On Writing, and I never thought I would read any Stephen King books ever. For Erin Morgenstern, I loved The Night Circus, but I've heard like conflicting things about her other book, The Starless Sea. So, but I do really want to read that because I really, really enjoyed the other one. Then for Emma Lord, I love Tweet Cute and the one that was kind of like The Parent Trap. But I haven't read When You Get the Chance and Begin Again. I haven't read those two yet, but I've owned them for ages, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I haven't read those two yet. And then for Jessa Hastings, I absolutely love the Magnolia Parks universe, so I need to read the last 2 books in that series, and then Never, which is her Peter Pan retelling. So I'm not going to discuss the other ones in depth. For Ashley Posson, I've read Geekerella, and I think I own all her other books, and I haven't read any of those yet, but I really loved Geekerella. So I've been collecting her other books, and people have been raving about them online, so I really want to read them. Then for Sarah J. Maas, I loved A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I've only read the first book in Throne of Glass, so I need to read that whole series, and I own that whole series, and I own Crescent City. Haven't read any of those, so I have like 10 books of hers to read. I read the first Howl's Moving Castle, haven't read the other 2 yet. I think my sister owns these Chris Riddle books, actually, and I don't even know which ones I haven't read yet. TJ Klune, I loved The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I own his other 2 books he released after that. The one about puppets and Under the Whispering Door. Own both of them, haven't read them yet. Paul E. Hardesty has some really, really amazing books. I actually have to, yeah. I've read the first 2 books in both his series. I think I've actually gotten maybe my counting wrong here. I need to go and check that because I do own Turbulent Wake as well. So I think I've read 3 of his books. Need to change that. But yeah, I do highly recommend his books. He's also just recently got 2 new releases, so this will probably change soon as well. Then Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I've only read the first book, but I have the whole series. Emily Henry, I've only read Beach Read, but I own like all her other books, so I need to read those. Kind of same situation with Beth O'Leary. I read The Flat Share, haven't read any of the others, but for some reason I own them. V.E. Schwab, I've actually read more of her books than what it says here. I've read quite a few actually, but I don't own all of them, so I need to read A Darker Shade of Magic and then Gallant. Those are the other ones that I own. A School for Good and Evil, only read the first book in the series. Jane Austen, I've only read Pride and Prejudice, but I own all the other books. Cornelia Funk, so I've actually read more than this, but I'm rereading Inkheart, so that's why this is looking like this. So it's technically I've read 3 already, and then I own 4 of her other books that I haven't read yet, but because I'm rereading it, I decided to just have it like that for now. Then the Land of Stories universe, those are my sister's books as well, and she's been begging me for years to actually read those books, but I've only read the first one, so I need to get back to it and finish that series. Then Sarki, this is an Afrikaans series, and I think last time I tried to read it, I only read the first book, so I need to read the other ones. I own all of the little omnibus collections. And then we have books that I own multiples of that I haven't started yet. So we have Divine Rivals, the Belladonna trilogy, I think, the Emily Wilde books. I own 2 of them. I own 2 of Hannah Grace's books, 2 of Jill Hornby's, or Gil Hornby, 2 of Sarah Addison Allen's. I own the Winterbourne School. I think it's a duology, but I have read a lot more of Ali Carter's books, but I just don't own them. I really want to get a copy of the Gallagher Girls series, so this might change, and this might change to be author. We shall see. The Faraway Tree, those 3 books, I think I actually read them when I was little, but I just need to go through them again just to confirm for that one, because I can't totally remember. I read a lot of Enid Blyton when I was small. Then The Sentinels of the Galaxy, those 3 books I have not read yet, but this is another author whose books I did read. So this is Maria V. Snyder, I believe, and she wrote the Poison Study books, which I also still want to own. Don't have my own copies yet, but will one day. The Bear and the Nightingale, haven't read them yet. There are 3 Rick Riordan books that we own that I haven't read yet, and yeah, it's a bit confusing. We do have 1 Percy Jackson book that I have read, but I don't want to include it here. So these are just the Rick Riordan books that we have on the shelves that I haven't read yet. Then I have 3 of Dolly Alderton's books haven't read yet. Elena Armis, 3 of Kristen Hanna's, Kaylin Bayron, Elizabeth Lim. I have 4 I haven't read yet. I have the whole Pages & Co. series because they are so cute. I just haven't started them yet. I have the Del Toro Quest collection. I have all of Stephanie Garber's books, which I haven't started yet, but I'm determined to start Caraval this year. The Artemis Fowl books, I think I actually read the first 1 or 2 when I was in high school, but I can't remember which ones, so for now that is 0. Then for Holly Black, I've read some of her books, but the ones I own, I think some of them I read, but again, those were ones I read when I was really young, so I can't remember them, so I will be rereading them. And then the Cruel Prince series, I have not read yet. Haven't read any of Victoria Aveyard's books, but again, I own all of them. The Twisted Tales collection, we own the box set. Haven't read any, and I haven't read the Trompi books either, so those are Afrikaans books. So yeah, it does look like I haven't read any, but I'll show you a secret. I have hidden some rows that contain the series that I have actually read. So that is quite a lot. I'll just read them for you. I've read all 3 of Helen Huang's books. Same thing for Sally Rooney. I have 2 collections from Jean Ure. I've read all the Grishaverse books that I own. There's still 2 that exist that I haven't read yet, but all the ones that I own I've read. I've read the Iron Flame books, the Books of Dust, and then also the trilogy before that, from Philip Pullman. All the Twilight books, Hunger Games, Vampire Academy, loved the Warcross duology, read the Practical Magic books recently and they were so good. To All the Boys, The Summer I Turned Pretty, absolutely love Nevermore. The 4th book should be coming out, I think in November this year, last time I checked. All the Every Hearted Doorway books I own, I've read. There's still some in the series I don't own yet. I'm collecting them slowly, but I have read more than what I have here. These are just what I own. I've read all 3 Firebird books. I've read the Maze Runner books, Narnia, Lore Olympus, the Shirley Ann Barber books, and Harry Potter. So yeah, there are I think a few that I do own in South Africa that I didn't list here. And I'll just update this as I go. But overall, I'm really happy with how the spreadsheet turned out. And I think this is such a nice way to prioritize my books. So I can either start at the top or maybe at the bottom here where I've read 0%. And if I read the first book in one of these series, then I can very easily unhaul them if I'm not vibing with the series, you know? So I might do a bit of both, see how I feel, but I quite like that I have this to refer to, and I love the color code. So I have it in kind of like a color scale so you can see at a glance um, how much I've read. I'll just come back to this one and see. But yeah, absolutely love this. Let me know if you guys are curious about how I made this and if you want me to share, how I did the conditional formatting and the sorting and things like that. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.